Last Wednesday, the nation was riveted to the President's speech on health care reform before Congress. While the President's concern for the uninsured is no doubt sincere, his plan amounts to a magnanimous gift to the health insurance industry, despite any implications to the contrary. For decades, the insurance industry has been lobbying for mandated coverage for everyone. Imagine if the cell phone industry or the cable TV industry received such a gift from government. If government were to fine individuals simply for not buying a corporation's product, it would be an incredible and completely unfair boon to that industry, at the expense of freedom and the free market. Yet this is what the current health care reform plans intend to do to the very powerful health insurance industry. The stipulation that pre-existing conditions would have to be covered seems to be a small price to pay for increasing their client pool to 100% of the American people. A big red flag, however, is that they would also have immunity from lawsuits should they fail to actually cover what they are supposedly required to cover, so these requirements on them are probably meaningless. Mandates on all citizens to be customers of theirs, however, are enforceable with fines and taxes. Insurance providers seem to have successfully equated health insurance with health care, but this is a relatively new concept. There were doctors in medicine long before there was health insurance. Health insurance is not a bad thing, but it is not the only conceivable way to get health care. Instead, we seem to still rely on the creativity and competence of politicians to solve problems which always somehow seem to be tied in with the strongest lobby in Washington. It's sad to think of the many creative free market solutions that government prohibits with all its interference. What if instead of joining a health insurance plan, you could buy a membership directly from a hospital or doctor? What if a doctor wanted to have a cash-only practice, or make house calls, or determine his or her own patient load, or otherwise practice medicine outside the constraints of the current bureaucratic system? Alternative health care delivery models will be at an even stronger competitive disadvantage if families are forced to buy into the insurance model. And yet, the reforms are sold to us as increasing competition. What if it just once Washington got out of the way and allowed the ingenuity of the American people to come up with a whole spectrum of alternatives to our broken system? Then the free market, not lobbyists and politicians, would decide which models worked and which did not. Unfortunately, the most broken aspect of our system is that Washington sees the need to act on every problem in society rather than staying out of the way or getting out of the way. The only tools the government has are force and favors. These are tools that many unscrupulous and lazy corporations would like to wield to their own advantage, rather than simply providing a better product that people will willingly buy. It seems the health insurance industry will get more of those advantages very soon.
Let's not let that happen. Please contact your representatives and tell them to leave us alone. These people in power seem to never stop in their conscious or unconscious goal of pulling everyone into a central way of thinking. Christians are to be heading out of the system, and their enemies in power are constantly working to pull them back in. Ron Paul, in his message, outlined many reasons why the people in power are not our friends. Please do not be silent. Tell them my health is none of the government's business. If the hospitals drove themselves into debt with bad business decisions, then they must get themselves out by correcting themselves or suffer the possibility of being replaced with better systems. Dr. Martin Gallagher has devoted himself to making one of those better systems by dedication to wellness lifestyle and self-responsibility, rather than following the path to money while the status of American health falls apart.
If someone were to take your medical protocol and use you as the model for how to put together a cost-benefit analysis, say for a reduction in the long-term healthcare expenses, would you be willing to participate in that?
Of course I'd participate in it, of course. And you know what? Listen, we shouldn't have a surgeon general in this country, let's face it. What are we putting a surgeon in charge of the healthcare delivery system? We need a natural healthcare person, not a general surgeon. We don't need a drug czar. We need people that are going to focus on getting people healthy, keeping them healthy, and doing home techniques to help them stay healthy. Of course I'd participate in those things. And is there a debate about it? Sure, there's a debate. But listen, we're going to be going into national health care. That national health care is going to be a worse system than Medicare. In addition to that, it's going to exclude the very forms of integrative healthcare that I'm purporting. So where is that healthcare system headed? It's headed for drugs and surgery. That's the unfortunate part. And so how do people regain their health? Read my book, start detoxing, get adjusted, use vitamins, get homeopathy, clean up your diet, start doing healthy things because the government's not going to save us.
You're right, Dr. Gallagher. We know what it's like. The insurance companies are going to claw and scratch and lobby in Washington. Natural health care, which you propose, is going to be left in the dust.
Absolutely. That whole system is going to be based on the perpetuation of drugs and surgery. I mean, the drug lobby is huge. It's one of the largest industries in the world. I mean, it's as big as or larger than oil companies. So do you think they're going to go down and say, oh, yeah, I think it's great if people take vitamins? Yes, I'd recommend that people have acupuncture and chiropractic treatment and detoxification and IV vitamin therapy. Those symptoms mean you take this drug. And then they continue to promote it through radio and television advertisements ad nauseum. Every medical journal that you pick up, every 2 or 3 pages, it's a drug advertisement. You see articles in the American Academy of Family Practice and American Annals of Neurology, the Journal of the American Medical Association. Those articles are being published by doctors who in turn are paid representatives from drug companies. This is ludicrous. And so we need to have a balanced healthcare system. How are we going to have a balanced healthcare system? You have to put at the top of the system, which means when you have an encounter with a doctor, that doctor should be trained in integrative medicine. Now, who fits that bill? Well, a lot of people fit the bill, but a lot of those people aren't at the top of the system, unfortunately. Chiropractors fit the bill for that. Naturopaths fit the bill for that. Some homeopaths fit the bill for that. And so a lot of people have just gotten off the whole illness treadmill, and they've just decided, you know what, I'm going to take my health care into my own hands. I'm going to read books like Dr. Gallagher's Guide to 21st Century Medicine. I'm going to read about detoxification. I'm going to plant an organic garden. I'm going to buy healthier foods. I'm going to feed my kids right. I'm going to get adjusted instead of taking antibiotics. I'm going to take a different approach to my health. That's why there's a healthcare revolution taking place in this country. That healthcare revolution, by the way, is not being promoted by the American Medical Association. This has been people making a choice that they're fed up with the current healthcare system. They've opted out of that system, and in turn they seek people such as myself and other alternative doctors to help them get well. You can't get well in the current healthcare system. Now listen, I may be extreme when I say that. If you've got a broken bone, my God, you go to the emergency room and those things are fixed. You have cataracts that are mature, you can have them removed by an ophthalmologist very effectively. So our emergency healthcare system and some of the advanced methods of surgical procedures are critical. And in critical care, you have to have IV drug therapy. But for the majority of things, the day-to-day out medical problems that people have, these can be effectively treated using integrative medicine. It would save trillions of dollars. But there's no great desire in this country to have trillions of dollars saved. It is among the average consumer, but at the top of the system, where we have senators and congressmen and the president and organizations like the Food and Drug Administration, they have zero desire. In fact, they have an antipathy towards it.
Dr. Gallagher's office is on Route 30, 4 miles east of the Irwin Turnpike Interchange in Jeannette, Pennsylvania. Number 1-800-834-4325. And Ron Paul's messages can be found at www.house.gov/Paul under the topic Texas Straight Talk, September 14th. By KiskiOutdoor, K-I-S-K-I, Outdoor, Apollo, Pennsylvania, United States of America, November 2009.